Natalina, and we're back in my teaching kitchen where I've been teaching authentic Italian food culture for about the last 8 years. And I'm here because we're doing these videos, all the tips and tricks to get you more confident in your kitchen at home. So I'm here in my teaching kitchen. I'm actually canning tomatoes. So I wanted to share this with you because this is something I get asked a lot of questions about. I've got Stefano, my son, on the camera, so you will hear me talking to him, and I'll get him to come in close so you can see exactly what we're talking about. So we're going to talk today about passata. So passata is basically a tomato puree. Oftentimes when you find it in the grocery store, it's in a bottle just like this. And typically when it's in a bottle like this, it means it's imported from Italy. But you can make your own beautiful passata at home during tomato season. So this is what I want to share with you. So what we're going to do is, to start, you're going to take your tomatoes, whatever you have. Now, this is a San Marzano from my garden, which is optimal. So if you can find San Marzanos in your area, that's great. So that is the variety of tomato. Then I've got just a basic, eating tomato, we'll say, and then a small cocktail. So these came out of my garden. These actually I didn't cut up today because they need to be a little bit riper. So you want nice ripe tomatoes. You're gonna cut them down into large chunks. So this I might cut into 4 pieces. No need to remove this stuff unless it were, really, really bad and bruised. I mean, these are just lines from water. So in the pot they go, all right? So we're gonna cut off any blemishes and pop them in the pot. So these have been going for a few minutes. And so what we're doing here is we're sweating these tomatoes. So by sweating them, there is nothing in here, just tomatoes, okay? So I started on high heat and then I turned it down depending on how big your pot is, how many tomatoes you have. It's gonna vary. So you can see now, this has been going for a little while. All the liquid from the tomatoes has now been released, okay? So by sweating them, it releases that liquid, which is exactly what we want, okay? So that has happened. I'm turning this off. I've done some ahead just so I can show you the different stages here, all right? So the liquid has come out, and now what I've done with my first batch is I have ladled it into this very large colander lined with a cheesecloth. Okay, now I have a bowl underneath to catch all that liquid that we're draining away. So this is the big tip, okay? This is the big important tip here. You don't want to omit this stage, okay? Now, normally I would just put the colander right in the sink and have the liquid drain away, but in order to show you today, I've got it in a large bowl, okay? And every once in a while, you'll get little pools of liquid, so you want to move it around and just take that away. So the water is not a bad thing. It's just if you leave a lot of water in there, it ends up in your finished passata. I have some here that this is where we're going to end up. And you can see there's no liquid that's strained away from that. These were done a few days ago. That's just thick, beautiful passata, okay? And that's the trick, my friends, is straining away the liquid here. If you leave the liquid in there, you're going to need a lot more jars because you're going to have to contain that liquid. And also, too, when you cook this off to make your sauce, it's going to take a lot longer to reduce. So you're kind of eliminating that stage. And this is now equivalent to that thick, beautiful passata imported from Italy that we all use in those jars I showed you. After they've strained for a while, now depending on how big your batch is, the time can vary, but really just look for all the wet spots gone and make sure all the liquid's drained out. Like I've drained this out, or emptied out rather, the large bowl a couple of times. Okay, once it's drained out, then what you want to do is you want to ladle that tomato concoction, we'll call it, into a food mill. This is a manual food mill, okay? This is what I grew up with. This is what my mom used, and this separates the skin and the seeds, okay? So you can see this beautiful passata that's coming through here, okay? So that's what we're after, is that beautiful finished product. Now, if you don't have a food mill, you can get one. Most hardware stores or kitchen stores will have them. They're all different sizes. Now, if you're doing really large batches, then you want an electric food mill, okay? So I do small batches for my garden, and this certainly facilitates that. But if you're looking at a big production with bushels and bushels of tomatoes, then you want an electric one, because this would just take you way too long. Okay, so let's get rid of that. Next, we're going to move on. We're going to get rid of that. So I've got my mason jar. This is a 500 ml, or about a 2-cup mason jar with a 2-part snap lid. It's very important that this part is brand new, okay? Because that's what's going to seal your final product. All right? So whatever jars you're using, you're going to get your ladle in there, And you can see I've added some basil at the bottom. That is preference. I like to add a little bit of basil, although I do add fresh basil when I make my tomato sauce as well. So here we go. We got our fresh passata going in here, which is really just tomatoes. And we've added a little bit of basil. Now, I've been canning tomatoes my whole entire life, probably since I was about 5 years old. I was rounded up to help my mom in the kitchen, and we've never added citric acid or anything. That is a personal choice. I haven't added lemon juice or anything. It's just tomatoes and the basil and a brand new snap lid going on there, tightened lightly. And there you have it. You have your homemade passata. Now this will need to be processed, and the best place to get those instructions is from the manufacturer of your jar and your 2-part snap lid, okay? That's very important that you process these so they can go on your shelf and they don't need to be refrigerated, okay? So for more of these tips, I hope you'll come back because we're gonna have lots of tips to share. Please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or please subscribe to our YouTube channel, and you can come back and join me in the kitchen where we are going to help you bring homemade back. Ciao for now.